They picked her out. You know, one face in a crowd, gray hair pulled back tight, plain clothes, nothing flashy, nothing that would make you look twice. If you blinked, you'd think she was just another grandma shuffling through the checkpoint, clutching her purse like it held her whole life in it. But the way those security officers zeroed in on her, all stiff uniforms and plastic authority, you could tell they thought they had someone easy, someone to push around. It started off like any other dreary morning, the rain coming down in sheets outside, security lines winding through the marble atrium, that buzz of impatient people staring at their phones, everyone just wanting to get through and get on with their day. But the air felt heavier, like something was about to break. The first thing they did was ask for her ID. The officer, Rustin, big guy, mid-30s, the kind of man who thinks his badge is a license to sneer, held her card up like he'd just pulled a joker from the deck. "This is expired," he said, smirking, not even trying to hide it. She stayed calm, told him her appointment letter said it was fine, handed over the official document, but he just tossed it back. That's when you knew he wasn't looking for answers. He wanted a reason. She tried to keep it simple, told him she was there for an appointment, personal business, but her calmness made him even more suspicious. Maybe it was the way she stood, straight-backed, steady. Some people, when they get old, they shrink. She didn't. She took up the space around her without apologizing for it, and that just seemed to get under his skin. So he called over another officer, Loritz, stocky, older, wore suspicion on his face like a second batch. They asked her to step aside, told her to open her duffel. She asked, politely, for a private screening. "No," Rustin barked, loud enough for people in line to start watching. "Open it here." You could feel the tension grow, see the first phones come out, that instinct everyone has now to record injustice instead of stop it. She unzipped her bag, slow and deliberate, and inside were just the things you'd expect from someone her age: a bottle of pills, a framed photograph, a worn book of poetry. But every item was handled like evidence, held up for all to see. They even pulled out a small key, old and ornate, and she said quietly, it opened something that should have stayed closed. That got a laugh out of them, made them feel big. But the crowd wasn't laughing. Some young woman at the edge of the line started frowning, whispering to her friend, "This isn't right." And when they found a box with a military pin inside, a simple thing, but you could tell it meant the world to her, Rustin dangled it in the air, mocking, asking if it was worth anything. "Not in money," she said, voice steady. You could see in her eyes a storm of memories no one there could touch. It kept going. They dug deeper, pulling out a faded notebook, mispronouncing names from operations none of them recognized, waving it around like some great discovery. They laughed, called her a wannabe, old people and their secrets. But she stood there, chin up, letting the humiliation slide off her like rain on glass. The final compartment of her bag, she hesitated, and Rustin, playing to the now sizable crowd, unzipped it with a flourish. Inside was a uniform, deep blue, heavy, covered in medals and insignias that didn't match up with anything you'd see at the average parade. For a second, everyone went quiet. He lifted the jacket, made a show of it. Loritz leaned in, looking at the patches. "I've never seen these before." Rustin tried to keep up the act. "Is this a costume?" But you could hear the doubt in his voice. She just said, "It was issued to me." Someone in the crowd, an older man, stepped up and said he'd seen a patch like that in old classified photos. Suddenly, the joke wasn't so funny anymore. They checked the name tag, Thorne. They checked her ID again. The numbers matched. The story started to unravel right there in their hands. Rustin, desperate, insisted women weren't in combat back then, like he'd found the one flaw in her story, but she just met his gaze, steady as stone, and said, officially. That word hung in the air, heavy with everything it didn't say. Then the twist, because every real story needs one. From the side entrance, a tall officer entered, ribbons and stars glinting, flanked by younger soldiers. He came straight to them, took one look at the uniform, and snapped a salute. "Captain Thorne," he said, voice ringing with respect. "It's been many years." You could see Rustin and Loritz realize, in real time, how badly they'd screwed up. The officer, General Crane, explained it all. Her file had only just been declassified. Her unit, Special Operations Group Delta, had done work no one would ever talk about, changed the course of history in the shadows. She was there that day to receive the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest honor in the Army, for a mission that saved dozens of lives, for a service that had never been recognized until now. Suddenly, everything changed. Rustin, pale as chalk, returned the uniform, trying to apologize. She told him quietly, respect is not earned by insignia. It is earned by recognizing humanity in others. The words landed hard. The phones that had been raised to capture her humiliation now recorded her vindication. General Crane explained to the whole checkpoint that the president himself would be pinning the medal on her. The crowd, which had been hungry for a spectacle, now watched with a strange reverence, some people nodding in silent agreement, others clearly moved by what they'd just witnessed. The ceremony was held in a grand hall flooded with sunlight. The rain now just a memory. Isolde Thorne took her place among the few surviving members of her unit, people bound together by secrets and sacrifice. The president spoke of her bravery, her quick thinking, her ability to do what needed to be done when nobody else could, when the world wasn't watching. She accepted the medal without show, not for herself, but for the comrades who hadn't made it home. Afterward, at the reception, she stood apart, watching the room with the quiet detachment of someone who has seen too much. Officer Adira Ellis, the young woman who'd watched her ordeal at the checkpoint, approached, struggling to find the words. She wanted to apologize, to understand what it meant to serve with dignity in the face of disrespect. Isolde just said, people will judge what they can see. Your job is to know what's invisible, your own worth. It was the kind of wisdom you can't teach, only live. As the sun set, Isolde slipped out quietly, duffel bag over her shoulder, metals clinking gently. Outside, the world looked washed clean, fresh with possibility. Officer Ellis caught up with her, this time out of uniform, asking if she could walk together, maybe learn a thing or two about real service. The two of them disappeared into the city, one old, one young, bound by a moment that started with suspicion but ended with respect. And back at that checkpoint, life rolled on, people pushed through, important or not, all deserving of the same dignity that Isolde Thorne fought for, quietly, her whole life. So let me ask you, how often do we judge before we know? What would you have done, standing in that line, watched, filmed, or stepped up? Drop your thoughts below. Where's the line between security and respect, between service and power? Let's talk about it.